Okay, good morning. Thank you for being here. My name is Jason Bartolone. I'm the Communications Manager for the City of Northport. Thank you for being here as we provide an update to the community on the impact of Hurricane Ian on Northport. Today you'll be hearing from City Manager Jerome Fletcher, Mayor Pete Emmerich, and Emergency Manager Mike Bryan, who will give you an update on the latest impacts to our community and the information that we want our citizens to know. And after that, we'll have time for some questions. So first up, I'd like to welcome City Manager Jerome Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Bartolone. Again, thank you all for being here. Hurricane Ian was a historic event. This is not something this city has ever seen before. We were as well as prepared as we could have been, knowing now that we now must go into the recovery phase of what this process allows for. We know a lot of you out there are scared. We know a lot of you out there are wondering what's going to happen when you're going to get your service back. Power outages are not only happening throughout this city here, but throughout the entire county and much other parts of the state. Know this, that the city of Northport, our staff, our resources, and those who have reached out to us from around the region, we're here to help you. We're going to do as much as we can, as fast as we can. We will step together and become the community of unity that we want to be, and this is an example of how we help each other out. Please make sure that you preach and practice the patience and stay off of the streets. Make sure that you're safe. That's priority number one. So we are going to get through this, and we will come out of this stronger at the end. And now I want to introduce and turn it over to Mr. Mayor Pete Emmerich. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I drove around Northport a little bit this morning, and it's devastating out there to see the damage, and it's citywide. I've been in contact with our state representative, James Buchanan, Governor Ron DeSantis, and they have both assured me that Northport is ground zero. All resources will be heading to Northport. They're working on funding, they're working on personnel. We are doing everything that we possibly can. And like as the city manager had stated, this is day one. I know everybody's curious about going out and seeing what's happened. Right now, it's not the smartest move to make because you can be out there on a vehicle, slip off a road and some flooding, and block that road for emergency vehicles coming through. We don't know how devastating it is to certain communities out there. At this time, there is no loss of life, and that's a good thing, but we want to be able to get to those places to be able to save people that may be in need of that. So respect your neighbor, be kind, help your neighbor, and let's get through this together. This is a very tough time. It's not going to get fixed overnight, and it's going to take days, maybe even weeks to get back to normal. So please be patient. The city is working 24/7 to make sure that we can get to quality of life back to you as soon as possible. And right now we're at about a 70% power outage between South County all the way down through Northport. So everybody is pretty much in the same boat. So let's work together. I'm gonna turn this over to Mike, and he'll give you all the stats and the numbers, and we'll be available for questions after that. So respect your neighbor, help them if you can. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning. Just to give you an idea of some of the activities that the city has undertaken in response to Hurricane Ian. Starting early this morning, prior to daybreak, as soon as the winds died down, where it was safe for our crews to go out, we deployed tactical first-in teams. What these teams do is they go out and they clear major primary and secondary roadways so that our emergency apparatus and our emergency services personnel can get to those people who may be experiencing emergencies at that time. So that is one of the primary things we are undertaking. We are still performing that operation as we speak. Of course, if you have an emergency, always call 911. But if it's a non-emergency type call and you live in Sarasota County, you can dial 311, and that will get you to the county, who are working very closely with us to make sure that we get as much information out to the public as we possibly can. If you live outside the county, you can call 941-861-5000. 941-861-5000. one of the consequences that Ian brought with us was we had an issue with one of our water mains that broke during Ian's impact upon the city yesterday. As a result of that, we have instituted a boil water notice for all our community residents. That will stay in place until we're able to make repairs and ensure that the quality of water is safe and acceptable for our community. We are also conducting damage assessments throughout the city. We're looking at our critical infrastructure, our critical facilities, all the lifelines that the community depends upon. We're doing a damage assessment of those. Once we're completed with those, we're going out to the community, doing residential, businesses, and other inspections as appropriate. As part of our safety issues, we're also instituting overnight curfews. As the Mayor alluded to before, roadways are still covered. There's much debris upon the roadways. It's very difficult during the day to just get around. At night, it's just plain dangerous. So we're asking people to stay off the roads. It also allows access for our emergency vehicles. And so please help us enforce this curfew for your safety. City operations will be closed through Friday. Again, city operations will be closed through Friday, so we can get out and help to continue with our assessment, continue to restore the services to the community. At this time, Red Cross will be working on opening an additional shelter at Woodlands Middle School. So they will be undergoing that operation, and as soon as that opens, we'll make sure that the information is shared with the public. We are currently also working with the county to possibly establish a point of distribution where we'll be able to hand out tarps and water to those community residents who need those. We have not set up an exact day and time or location yet, but we are working with Sarasota County to see if we can bring that together and put that in place very quickly. And finally, I just ask our community to please take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. That's always our number one priority. Everything else we can fix. But we just ask that all our community members please take the time, help yourselves, help your family, help your neighbors, and help keep us all safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We'll open it up to questions. If you would please let us know who your question is for, who you'd like to address it to, and they'll come up and answer your question.
I don't know if it would be the mayor or the emergency manager. The fire chief talked about rescues that they had to make overnight. Any idea how many of those were made? And whether there were any injuries to any first responders or to any families here?
Yeah, I don't have an exact number for you. I know the TFIT, part of their responsibility was to do those, to make those rescues, to make those activities. But I can check with the fire chief and get you some exact numbers. As far as I know, again, no fatalities, which is always our major concern, but I can get you some more details on that.
Yeah.
Elaine with the Sun newspapers. Holiday Park was devastated. Is there going to be a place like a FEMA type area where these people can return to? Some of these mobile homes are gone.
Right, and that's going to be part of our long-term recovery. This is going to be a very, very long process. Many times you'll see events and incidents that occur within a town or a city or any county that's generally resolved within 1, 2, 3 weeks. This one is going to take months. This was a devastating event. This was a Category 4, a very strong Category 4. It's 155 miles an hour winds. Category 5 is 157. So that gives you some idea of the impact that this city took. So it's very devastating. It caused a significant amount of damage. So it's going to take us a while to do that. But as you presented, one of our main concerns is helping our community residents, especially those that have been displaced. And we'll work with FEMA, and work with our county, and work with the state to make sure that we're able to do that, to help them, whatever the case may be, to address their needs. Yes.
Can I add on to that?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And also, the county shelters that are provided here will be closing. They are volunteer staff. We do believe that we have a partnership with the Red Cross. We're going to set up a different shelter so that those who are displaced, can get to somewhere safe very soon.
As far as the curfew goes, and the shelters closing, I guess, when do the shelters close? What times do the curfews run through? And then this is just like an additional question. Do you have any idea what percentage of the roads in the area are underwater?
Ooh.
I know, it's like, I just like threw it all out there.
We can take turns.
I'll take some at the beginning. The curfew itself, I believe we're implementing from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. And again, that's based on the safety of the community. We know that this is a time where when your communications are down, your power is down, that, we'll try to take advantage of those situations. And we have a talented police force and fire team that we want to make sure can combat that, in the right way possible. The second part of your question was about the shelters closing. I do not know the exact time of them closing, but what we will do and we can offer you is that we will be patient as we're actually asking our community to be patient and allow them as much time as they can to sort of transition. Some people may not have somewhere to transition to. And then not only that, it may be hard for them to actually take their usual route to get there, knowing that some of the streets are flooded in ways that we can't get past. The mayor spoke about, traveling during some of the city. I've been out as well, and you see people in boats, and you see people trying to get to other people in need. If they're in a boat, that means we definitely can't get a rescue vehicle to them, and they definitely can't get a vehicle to where they need to be. And maybe Mr. Ryan can speak to the amount of the streets of the flooding that I think was the third part of your question.
Yes.
Yeah, the actual number of roads flooded is pretty much changing, simply because even though the water came in, we had some roads that were under 2 to 3 feet of water last night. We're clear now, simply because our public works department has done a great job with our canal system, our drainage system, so we're able to push water through. So right now, I can't give you an accurate number in terms of percentages of actually. Now there's some streets that are totally flooded out. Most susceptible areas, most prone areas to flooding, those are totally underwater for the entire area. And then there are those that are partially halfway underwater. But once I get those, I can try to get you an approximation once I take a look at that. So,
As far as the curfew goes, if you work a job like Publix or Walmart, will you be allowed to go to work if there's a curfew in place?
Yes, ma'am. In the order, the only exception is for those who are traveling to and from work. We do recognize that they can't stop that, nor can they control that, and we want them to go to and from work. It is really just specifically so our police department can enforce the right rules on the bad actors that we know are out there.
Any other questions?
The water's down. Do we have any idea of when parts of Northport will get water back?
Currently, part of the system was damaged to the waterway. Right now, they're working on a system to open up the valve as we speak from the Peace River for the valve up there that helps promise to get water pressure to the system. So I know they're working on that now as an option, and so they can kind of isolate that break and make repairs and get that back online. But I know they're working on that now. Hopefully, sometime today we'll be able to get back water to the city. Yes.
So as far as debris pickup, in years past in other counties, they've allowed, the city of Northport only has 2 bulk pickups. Will that be suspended for a little while as people are able to get the debris? Do you guys have a plan for that?
We have a debris management plan that runs through our public works division, and we'll work with our contractors and our solid waste people to make sure that we got that. We also have a large debris management site that's being set up by Sarasota County. It's over at Cool Today Park, and what that does is large debris. They do a lot of compacting. A lot of times they'll bring in their trucks there. Kind of helps make the process a little bit more efficient. But we're working with them and working with our contractors, our debris management plan, to make sure that we're getting debris as much as we can off the streets and picked up as quickly as we can.
All right. Again, thank you all for being here. We're doing our best to keep the community updated. We're limited, just as a lot of you out there are as well, as far as cell phone service, internet, and power, even here at City Hall. But we ask our citizens to please stay up to date as best they can by visiting our city website, northportfl.gov. We'll be posting the latest updates there as we can, and our social media as well. And continue to follow our local media partners. We thank you for being here, for helping us to get the word out to the community. Again, if you need help, if you have questions, you can contact the Sarasota County 311 Center by dialing 311. And if you have an emergency, please dial 911. They're here to help you. Thank you, and we'll provide more updates as soon as we can.